For Accelerate Sports Ventures, I'm Kevin Devaney Jr. I'm joined today by the king of D3 NIL, Jack Betts from Amherst College. Jack, you're joining us from your home in Dallas, Texas. How much of who you are in the NIL space and who you are on the football field, how much is there synergy there?
Wow. I think, well, I was raised to be a hard worker, and something I write on my wrist before every game since my freshman year of college was MYOL, which stands for Make Your Own Legacy. And just sort of building off of that and just going out on the football field every single day, playing every snap like it's my last. I think there's a no regret mentality that sort of comes with it. And I think that really transfers into the business space and the NIL space, which, I'm going to reach out to brands, I'm going to get declined, but I have no regrets with, getting denied, because that just means I get to learn from my mistakes. And when it comes to football, I mean, you're going to fail, you're going to fall short, but it's how you react to those shortcomings that really defines who you are as a person. So I think there's a lot of overlap there. A lot of lessons that you can take from sports, a lot of lessons that you can take from business, and they really just fold onto each other.
Make Your Own Legacy. It has a great ring to it. Maybe a good name for a business. I think, are you ahead of me on that one?
I am a little bit, yes, sir.
Tell me about it. Tell me about Make Your Own Legacy and the NIL business you've started.
So the Make Your Own Legacy mantra is something I live by pretty much every day. And I remember in April of last year, it came to a point that my success began sort of getting a lot of attention. And I was having all of these athletes coming from similar markets, smaller market, Division III, Division II, even some lower Division I schools. And they're just reaching out to me with questions on the basis of, how'd you do it? Do you have any industry secrets? Do you have any advice you can give to us? So I began thinking, is there a more formal approach that I could take and begin helping out these students and educating them in the ways of, how do you get involved with NIL? And that's really where the Make Your Own Legacy Academy was born. The Make Your Own Legacy Academy is founded, owned by me. It's a completely free education solution. We started with our first cohort of athletes this past August, 21 athletes for the number that I wear on the field. And I teach them on everything, on how to cold email, to how to keep the discussion going, and how to, actively participate and be in contact with these brands, negotiating, which is a very important part of business, content creation, and really that everything that encapsulates how to do NIL. And we're just recently going to welcome 12 new athletes to the academy, very talented, coming from all levels. We've got a Colorado State football player, all the way to a Vermont swimming and diving participant. So it's really taken off, and I'm really proud of the work that I'm doing, because it's just sort of giving back that mentality that I've lived with my entire life.
Is what you're instructing all based off your experience? Did you research this? Have you gone to these similar types of academies? Is there an influence in your life? Where does that all come from?
I think it's really first of its kind. There's a lot of NIL marketplaces and NIL education solutions out there, but it's all ran by people who are no longer in college. And being that I am a current student athlete, having to juggle, having a brand, being a student athlete, and all of a sudden I've got 33 athletes under my wing. I think it's sort of something that nobody's really seen before. And that's the type of feedback that I've gotten. I guess the impetus behind it is just really, I've grown up in a household where service is really put at the top of the list. In high school, my summers would really consist of going to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dallas at 7 a.m., working there as a tutor and a mentor to primarily Spanish-speaking students. And, then in the afternoon, I'd go to, football workouts. So I think it's just sort of how my parents raised me, and how I sort of carry myself throughout life, the type of lessons that my parents taught me that sort of have rubbed off on me in giving back in the NIL space.
You have one more year of college football left, or two?
I've got one more year at Amherst, but because of COVID, I should have one more post-grad eligibility year.
So you have 2 more years of football left. Do you envision both of them being at Amherst? Do you see yourself moving on? Have you decided those things yet?
Well, I will be graduating from Amherst come this December. I won't have an opportunity to use that other COVID year. We'll just have to see, with all the success that I've recently seen, there's been a lot of great opportunities that have come of them, including some job opportunities. So if there's a lot of great things just sitting right in front of me, I might just take the bird in hand and hang up the cleats, unfortunately.
Tell me about what your post-college life could look like, and how do you see yourself staying in this space?
Post-college life, I grew up being an athlete. I mean, I remember as far back as I guess lower school, my afternoons were always either at practice, just shooting hoops with some friends, or even some games during the week. So I think with how ingrained athletics are in me, it'd be really difficult just to sort of leave them behind. So I do hope, postgraduate, I do hope that I can work in the athletic space, whether that be working with a professional team, or just working, continuing to help athletes fully realize their NIL potential. But we'll just have to see. There are a lot of great opportunities ahead of me, and I'll have to start deciding sometime soon.
What is the reaction you get from friends from home in Texas, from teammates now, from family members about the success you've had?
Yeah, so a lot of different reactions. I mean, especially just from folks up at Amherst, they're just sort of, it's hard to believe. A lot of my coaches are just kind of like, wow, this is something that we've never really seen before. I mean, they've been coaching for 30, 40 years, and now that NIL has officially become formalized, it's something that they've never seen before, and they continue to voice that, how impressive it is that I can balance being a student, being an athlete, and being an entrepreneur. From a lot of teammates, the reaction is sometimes the same, but they like to do it, poke me a lot with becoming an influencer of sorts, which is kind of like nails on a chalkboard for me, because I don't really like to think of myself as an influencer. I just like to think of myself as a student athlete who just happens to post content that people enjoy. But I don't know, a lot of the reactions from my Dallas friends are just sort of, we remember you back from high school. The personality that you have now isn't really kind of the same, because I'd be the one taking photos, I'd rarely post anything on Instagram or be super involved in stuff like LinkedIn or Twitter. But I guess, it's all about metamorphosis and just sort of growing as your environment changes.
So, Jack, give us some advice. You're talking to a freshman who's in college now, whether they're playing at Alabama or at Amherst. Give us some advice for them.
I guess the biggest piece of advice I'd give them is, the scariest thing is always the first step. I remember when that first NIL deal came to me, first NIL proposition came to me, I was really hesitant because I was worried what other people were going to think of me. I was worried what my coaches, my teammates would say about me being an endorsement, sort of a walking endorsement, if you will. But I don't know. I just kind of said, what the heck? The only opinion that really matters is my own, and most times my mother's. And so if she was on board, nothing else really matters. So it's just all about taking that first step, which is always going to be the scariest. But, if I hadn't taken that first step, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today. So I think that's really applicable in all walks of life, whether it be in business and in athletics, in relationships, especially. So that's the best advice I can give.
Tell us, Jack, where people can find you now, where they can find your content, where they can find you for contacts, things like that.
Yeah, so I guess my number one platform would be Instagram at jbets21. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Jack Betts, and Twitter is jrbets21. And if you're interested in TikTok, jbets21 as well.
I love my TikTok. Thanks so much for joining us, Jack.
Thank you for having me.